as they press a deadly offensive against the Red Sea city that has sparked UN fears for vital aid shipments through its nearby docks. China vowed to immediately retaliate to U.S. tariffs as Washington moved closer to imposing duties that could trigger a trade war.
We believe that within the next few years, the U.S.
IMF Chief Christine Lagarde warns that a trade war sparked by unilateral U.S. import duties will have no winners. I'm Alma Angeles, wherever you're watching from around the world. Thank you very much for joining us tonight. And we are now joined by Ms. Myla Simbulan from our Philadelphia, Pennsylvania Bureau. Thank you, Myla. And now to the news. The U.S. military has indefinitely postponed major joint exercises with South Korea, acting on President Donald Trump's pledge to halt the provocative military drills following his summit with North Korea's Kim Jong-un. The move, a significant break in how the U.S. and South Korean militaries have worked together for decades, came even as Secretary of State Mike Pompeo warned that peace efforts still face risks and insisted sanctions must be maintained until Pyongyang dismantles its nuclear arsenal. U.S. and South Korean forces have been training together for years and routinely rehearse everything from beach landings to an invasion from the north or even decapitation strikes targeting the North Korean regime. Pyongyang typically reacts fiercely. Following drills last year, the North fired ballistic missiles over Japan, triggering global alarm. Now, President Trump has sounded a triumphant tone since the Singapore summit, where he and North Korea leader Kim Jong-un signed a joint statement in which Kim committed to work toward complete denuclearization of the Korean peninsula. But critics have pointed to the vague wording of the non-binding document, which President Trump described as a deal, and to concerns among allies about the decision to stop the U.S.-South Korean war games. Speaking on a regional tour to brief South Korean, Japanese, and Chinese officials about the historic summit, Mr. Pompeo said Washington remains committed to the denuclearization of North Korea.
China has reaffirmed its commitment to honoring the UN Security Council resolutions. Those have mechanisms for relief contained in them, and we agreed that at the appropriate time that those would be considered. But we have made very clear that the sanctions and the economic relief that North Korea will receive will only happen after the full denuclearization, the complete denuclearization of North Korea.
Meanwhile, Special Advisor to President Moon Jae-in, commented on the ROK U.S. combined military exercises and on Kim Jong-un, saying that he is not the impulsive, irrational, crazy young leader he is known to be.
The possible suspension of ROK U.S. combined military exercise in August, I think that remarks is extremely strategic. As I point out, it is reciprocal as well as anticipatory. Okay. 말씀하셨지만 현안 문제에 대한 이해도가 상당히 높았다는 것하고, 그리고 우리가 지금까지 알려진 아주 충동적인 impulsive하고, 그 다음에 irrational하고, crazy한 young leader라고 하는 게 지금까지 우리들이 알고 있었던 김정은 위원장에 대한.
China's Navy carried out drills in the South China Sea to simulate fending off an aerial attack. As China and the United States trade barbs over who is responsible for heightened tensions in the disputed waterways, the United States and China have frequently sparred over who's militarizing the South China Sea, with Beijing blaming tensions on actions such as U.S. Secretary of State Mike Pompeo expressed concern during a visit to Beijing over China's efforts to militarize the seas. China's officials said China's Navy carried out a simulated missile attack in an unspecified area of the South China Sea using 3 target drones, making flyovers of a ship formation at varying heights. The paper added that the drills were part of efforts by an also unspecified training base to prepare for real-life combat against aerial targets. U.S. Secretary of State Mike Pompeo expressed concern during a visit to Beijing over China's efforts to militarize the seas.
I reaffirmed our concern with respect to China's efforts to build and militarize outposts in the South China Sea, endangering the free flow of trade and threaten the sovereignty of other nations and undermining regional stability. I urged Councillor Young, and he confirmed China's willingness to resolve these disputes in a peaceful way without resort to threats, coercion, or intimidation. I am confident that we can continue to work together towards that end.
Foreign Affairs Secretary Alan Peter Cayetano on Friday disputed claims of Senator Antonio Trillanes IV and Maguindanao Representative Gary Alejano anew regarding the supposed order of President Rodrigo Duterte to halt patrols in the West Philippine Sea. He maintained that the Philippine Army conducts regular patrols in the area. On Thursday, Cayetano accused the 2 lawmakers of using the issue for political gains. He said it's a given fact that Navy ships and Coast Guards have a regular presence in the area, since their role is not only to guard the Philippine territory, but also to assist Filipino fishermen in emergency cases and fend off smuggling and threats of terrorism. Cayetano scored the 2 as very irresponsible officials by claiming that there are no Philippine patrols in the disputed waters. Cayetano said that the 2 have not only endangered the country's security, but also its standing in the territorial dispute with China, Malaysia, Vietnam, Brunei, and Taiwan.
In other news, a White House briefing with Press Secretary Sarah Sanders became tense as reporters pressed her on the matter of the Trump administration's family separation policy for asylum seekers at the U.S.-Mexico border. Sanders upheld the practice as a matter of law, and she defended Attorney General Jeff Sessions' assertion that separating immigrant children from their parents is in line with the Bible. Let's listen in.
Unrelated on these children who are being separated from their families as they come across the border. The Attorney General earlier today said that somehow there's a justification for this in the Bible. Where does it say in the Bible that it's moral to take children away from their mothers?
I'm not aware of the Attorney General's comments or what he would be referencing. I can say that it is very biblical to enforce the law. That is actually repeated a number of times throughout the Bible. However, this hold on, Jim, if you'll let me finish. Again, I'm not going to comment on the attorney's specific comments that I haven't seen.
It's in the Bible to
That's
follow
not
the
what I
law.
said, and I know it's hard for you to understand. Even short sentences, I guess, and please don't take my words out of context, but the separation of illegal alien families is the product of the same legal loopholes that Democrats refuse to close, and these laws are the same that have been on the books for over a decade, and the president is simply enforcing them.
Policy to take children away from their parents. Can
It's
you
a
imagine
moral
the horror
policy
that
to
these children
follow
must
and
be going
enforce the
through
law.
when they come across the border?
Jim.
They're with their parents, and then suddenly they're pulled away from their parents? Why is the government doing this?
Because it's the law, and that's what the law states. And the
You
law.
guys don't have to do that. It's
You're right,
your
it doesn't
policy.
have to be the law, and the president has actually called on Democrats in Congress to fix those loopholes. The Democrats have failed to come to the table, failed to help this president close these loopholes and fix this problem. We don't want this to be a problem. The president has tried to address it a number of occasions. We've laid out a proposal, and Democrats simply refuse to do their job and fix the problem.
Now, Congress this year has failed to pass legislation aimed at resolving multiple immigration flashpoints, including how to protect so-called dreamers who were brought to the United States illegally as children. The Trump administration has recently implemented a policy of separating children from their parents as they attempt to enter the U.S., seeking asylum at the U.S. border. Meanwhile, several hundred protesters marched in Los Angeles to protest the policy.
Separation, the automatic separation of asylum seekers is new, and that's something that Sessions has ordered specifically. There were family separations under Obama, and we know that Obama deported many more families and children and immigrants than even the Bush administration, but certainly this is something new, and we haven't seen this.
No, of course not. It's not fair. We all believe in safe borders, but we don't believe in separating children from families. This is a Nazi Gestapo type of tactic that doesn't take human rights into consideration.
Pro-government forces from the Saudi-led coalition advanced on the southern outskirts of Hodeidah Airport in their bid to take off the strategic port city from the Houthi rebels. Yemen's rebel chief Abdel Malek al-Houthi urged his forces to fight on against pro-government troops, pressing a Saudi-backed offensive to retake the key aid hub of Hodeidah. Heavy fighting left 39 people dead on Thursday, a day after the Saudi-led coalition launched an assault to recapture the city controlled by the Iran-allied Houthi rebels. Military sources said coalition gunships pounded rebel positions as fighting raged several miles from Hodeidah airport south of the city. The United Nations has warned against an offensive on Hodeidah. The city is considered a lifeline to the rest of Yemen. About 70% of food, fuel, and medicine for the country comes through the port.
In other news, French President Emmanuel Macron meets Italy's new Premier Giuseppe Conte to try patch up relations. After sparks flew between the two countries over Rome's rejection of a migrant rescue ship, the spat between France and Italy erupted this week after Macron accused Rome of cynicism and irresponsibility for refusing to let the Aquarius dock. Italy's new government hit back, accusing Paris of giving, quote, hypocritical lessons and threatening to pull out of the meeting with Macron on Friday. The French leader said Thursday that none of his comments were intended to offend Italy and the Italian people. In a further gesture of reconciliation now, the French Foreign Ministry said it was ready to welcome migrants aboard Aquarius who meet the criteria for asylum after they arrive in Spain. Italy itself has appeared eager to avoid too harsh a response after turning the Aquarius away. Actually, it allowed a Coast Guard ship carrying over 900 migrants to land on Sicily on Wednesday. And on Thursday, the Italian Coast Guard brought fresh supplies to the Aquarius as it made its way past Sardinia. It's due to arrive in Spain at the weekend. Spain's Foreign Minister Josep Borrell said he hoped the spectacle of the migrants would move other European states into showing more solidarity. Under the EU's Dublin Agreement, which is currently up for review, migrants hoping to apply for asylum must do so in the first country they enter, a policy which has placed a huge burden on Italy in particular.
More news. German Chancellor Angela Merkel faced a tense showdown within her divided conservative camp over the flashpoint issue of immigration that could threaten her political future. Merkel was confronted with an open rebellion by her hardline Interior Minister Horst Seehofer, long a fierce critic of her liberal stance on refugees who wants to toughen border controls. Seehofer has demanded as part of his new migration master plan that German border police be given the right to turn back all asylum seekers without valid identity papers and those who are already registered elsewhere in the European Union. Merkel rejects the idea, fearing it would be seen in Europe as Germany going it alone and hurt already overburdened frontline Mediterranean countries such as Italy and Greece.
Ich persönlich halte die illegale Migration für eine der großen Herausforderungen, der Europäischen Union und glaube deshalb, dass wir nicht unilateral handeln sollten, dass wir nicht unabgestimmt handeln sollten und dass wir nicht zulasten Dritter handeln sollten. Und das ist der Maßstab.
Currently, migrants from these categories are initially admitted into Germany, where their situation is assessed in a bureaucratic process, with some later sent back to their first European port of call or their country of origin.
Jump! Don't jump!
Now to Greece, talks began in parliament after the main opposition party, New Democracy, called for a censure vote against Prime Minister Alexis Tsipras' government to block a name deal with Macedonia seen as harmful to Greek interests. Macedonia earlier struck a deal with Greece to change its name to the Republic of Northern Macedonia. The agreement between the Greek Prime Minister and his Macedonian counterpart Zoran Zaev was meant to solve a decades-old dispute between the two countries over Macedonia's name. Greece has long objected to its northern neighbor being called Macedonia because it has its own northern province of the same name, which in ancient times was the cradle of Alexander the Great's empire. It also attracts a large number of tourists, and Greeks argue only they have the right to use the name. Macedonia was unable to join the European Union or NATO because of the long-running dispute. It has also been sitting in the United Nations as the former Yugoslav Republic of Macedonia. Now, Macedonia is hoping that resolving the bitter dispute will help clear the way for it to join the EU or the European Union and NATO.
The Department of Justice criticized James Comey on the Clinton emails. A new report from the Justice Department skewed the speak or conceal metaphor Comey repeatedly uses to justify revealing a probe into Hillary Clinton's additional emails just before the 2016 election. Department of Justice Inspector General Michael Horowitz instead called it a choice to follow or depart from policy. Clinton has blamed Mr. Comey for her election loss to Donald Trump in 2016. The report also reveals Mr. Comey used a private email account for FBI business. FBI Director Christopher Wray said he accepted the report's findings, but he added that nothing in the report pointed towards political bias or impugned the FBI as an institution.
President Donald Trump was sued for using his nonprofit as a personal fund. New York Attorney General Barbara Underwood accused the U.S. President and 3 of his children, Ivanka, Eric, and Donald Jr., of engaging in illegal conduct when using the Donald J. Trump Foundation's funds. Underwood has asked a state judge to dissolve the foundation. Says the real estate tycoon, elected president in 2016, used the charity funds from the foundation to pay his legal bills, promote his Trump-branded hotels, and for personal spending, including the ostensible charity purchase of a portrait of Trump that was then mounted on the wall at one of his golf clubs. The lawsuit also claims Trump used the foundation illegally to raise $2.8 million to support his presidential campaign in a televised fundraiser on January 28, 2016, held as he skipped a Republican presidential primary debate. President Trump quickly responded with tweets in which he called the suit a ridiculous case and indicated he will fight it. But while it carries the threat of multi-million-dollar financial penalties and the closure of the charity, the civil lawsuit is unlikely to lead to criminal charges against the president or his children, or to strengthen the case of those seeking his impeachment.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to Cleveland.
Our kababayans, or Filipino friends in Bahrain, commemorated the 120th Independence Day. Lorleen Kalimlim files this report.
Today we are here at Philippine Embassy Manama, Bahrain to commemorate the 120th anniversary of Philippine independence. The most significant achievement of Aguinaldo's dictatorial government was the proclamation of Philippine independence in Kawit, Cavite on June 12, 1898. The ceremony was solemnly held at the balcony of General Emilio Aguinaldo's residence. The same setting is being fulfilled here in the Kingdom of Bahrain. The formal unfurling of the Filipino flag while playing the national anthem amidst Filipino community leaders in respect is led by the Philippine Ambassador to the Kingdom, His Excellency Alfonso A. Ver.
Ating iwaksi ang korupsyon, iligal na droga at kriminalidad na humahadlang sa ating pag-usad bilang bayan.
Message from the Republic of the Philippine President Rodrigo R. Duterte, Secretary of Foreign Affairs Alan Peter S. Cayetano, among others, have been read during the program. This year, Kalayaan 2018 has the theme, Pagbabagong Ipinaglaban, Alay sa Masaganang Kinabukasan. Some of the distinctive migrant workers were also recognized in the said event.
Maraming salamat po sa pagdiriwang na ito sa flag raising at munting programa at salo-salo para magunita natin ang kalayaan ng Pilipinas. Hindi nating kaila na ang daming Pilipino sa iba't ibang sulok ng mundo. Meron tayong mga health outreach para sa mga Pilipino na maka-avail ng mga free health services. Pasasalamat natin sa Al Hilal Hospital. Maraming socio-cultural events for this Independence Month at lalo na for this year na it is also the 40th year of the anniversary of the establishment of relations between Philippines and Bahrain.
One of the highlights of the celebration is a foreign national, Mr. Fahez Ibrahim, who has toured us in his mini museum of Filipino item collections.
Happy National Day, first of all. I'd like to extend my sincere greetings and wishes to the Republic of Philippine leadership and to the Philippine Embassy and to the Filipino community in Bahrain. The celebration this morning, it was really full of and rich. It was a unique celebration. It was attended by all organizations. I'm proud to be part of it. I started since I was a student in the early 80s. I started to collect different items, but then suddenly I found myself focusing more on the items belong to the Republic of Philippines. Maybe someone asking why is this? In fact, yeah, the history and the culture of the Philippines is very rich. So I found myself turning on it and focusing on it. I enriched my hobbies and collection in few years. Then I found myself concentrating and focusing on the Philippine banknotes history. As you will see later, I started collecting those banknotes since 1940s when the Japan occupation started, and then when Leyte landing, after that Marcos era, after Marcos, Ramos, Estrada. It really made me more interested to dig deep inside the Philippine history. Each banknote has a unique story behind it. Some of it has errors in printing. Some of it has a unique serial numbers. So really, I hope and I wish it will be informative enough for the visitor, especially the Filipino school students, plus other people. And all of you are welcome.
Thank you very much. Wherever we are in the world, we keep to be part of our country's common aspiration for change towards a peaceful, progressive, and united Philippines. This is your Eagle News correspondent from Bahrain, Lorlin Kalimlim, and I'm Juan with 25.
Thank you, Lorlin. The news continues here on Eagle News International. We'll be right back.
Health is our most important asset, and it should always be a constant effort to seek ways to take care of it. That includes professional medical help from the best available. The Manila-Beijing Medical Association
that, China has vowed to immediately retaliate to U.S. tariffs as Washington moved closer to imposing duties that could trigger a trade war. U.S. President Trump is due to unveil later a final list of roughly $50 billion worth in Chinese imports that would face punishing tariffs. China has drawn up its own list of $50 billion worth in U.S. goods to target. China's list included America's largest exports to China, such as soybeans and a slew of other U.S. products, including cars, frozen beef, and whiskey. The action comes one day after Secretary of State Mike Pompeo visited Beijing for talks with Chinese leaders about the president's recent meeting with North Korean leader Kim Jong-un. The tariffs, which President Trump set in motion in March, are a response to China's practice of compulsory technology licensing for foreign companies and its efforts to steal U.S. trade secrets via cyber theft.
U.S. tax cuts will boost growth in the short term, but bring risk in the coming years, the International Monetary Fund said in a report on the American economy released Thursday, June 14, in Washington. IMF Managing Director Christine Lagarde took questions following the release of the preliminary conclusions by the staff in the so-called Article 4 report on the U.S. economy, a survey that the fund makes in cooperation with member countries, usually on an annual basis.
We believe that within the next few years, the U.S. economy will be entering its longest expansion in recorded history. The Tax Cuts and Jobs Act and the approved increase in spending are providing a significant boost in the economy. We forecast growth at close to 3% this year, but declining from that level over the medium term. In my discussions with Secretary Mnuchin, he was clear, although we agree on the very short term, but he was clear that he regards our medium-term outlook as too pessimistic. And frankly, I hope he's right, and we are wrong. Because that would be good news for the US, and it would be good news for the global economy as well.
Lagarde also noted that in a trade war, there are no winners. She called out that the Trump administration's tariffs for adding risk to the U.S. and world economies. The administration has enacted or threatened tariffs on tens of billions of dollars worth of imports, both from China and from U.S. allies.
Unilateral trade actions can be disruptive and may prove counterproductive to the functioning of the global economy and trading system. As I've said before, a so-called trade war, driven by reciprocal increases in import tariff, gives no winner. And we find generally losers on both sides.
Meanwhile, earlier, WTO Chief Roberto Azevedo met with IMF Chief Christine Lagarde and German Chancellor Angela Merkel in Berlin to talk about the rising trade tensions. Here's what they had to say about the rising trade tensions between countries. Take a look.
We must therefore stop this escalation of tensions. A tit-for-tat process is not going to be helpful. It's not going to help anyone. New sectors will be brought into the picture, which is, again, something that is going to harm everyone.
But the biggest and darkest cloud that we see is the deterioration in confidence that is prompted by attempt to challenge the way in which trade has been conducted, in which relationships have been handled, and the way in which multilateral organizations have been operating.
I think the rising trade tensions that we see before us, they risk a major economic impact, undermining the strongest sustainable period of trade growth since the financial crisis.
Tourists to New Zealand are to be charged a special tax under new government plans to deal with the growing influx of holidaymakers coming from overseas. Visitor numbers have surged by nearly a third in the past 3 years to 3.8 million in the 12 months to April, almost as big as the country's population. A tax of New Zealand $25 to 35 or US 17 to 24 will be imposed on international visitors from the middle of 2019. Price hikes for immigration fees and visas will take effect this November. Australians and most Pacific Island foreign countries will be exempt from the new charges. Tourism is a key pillar of the New Zealand economy, and the new tax is expected to raise up to New Zealand $80 million in its first year, which will be split between tourism infrastructure and conservation initiatives.
Eagle News International will be right back.
Health is our most important asset, and it should always be a constant effort to seek ways to take care of it. That includes professional medical help from the best available. The Manila-Beijing
area, including the international airport, which handles more than 100 flights a day. Schools were also closed in Los Cabos and state capital La Paz. At midnight GMT, the U.S. National Hurricane Center said Bud was poised to make landfall near Cabo San Lucas, traveling at 11 kilometers per hour with maximum sustained winds of 75 kilometers per hour. It was expected to cross the Baja California Peninsula overnight, then move over the Gulf of California on Friday U.S. time, hitting mainland Mexico as a tropical depression on Friday night or early Saturday before dissipating. Bud was a Category 4 hurricane on Tuesday, but has weakened as it has approached land.
What do you call a party of crocodiles? Take a look. These crocodiles were spotted sunbathing by Daly River in northern Australia. Experts say the scene indicates a healthy ecosystem where there is enough food for all the animals. Eagle News International will be right back.
Health is our most important asset.
MTRCB, rated responsable. May I walk you across the street?
Sure. Why not? Thanks.
You're welcome.
Congratulations to the men and women behind the success of Eagle Broadcasting Corporation for living up to the corporate mission and vision for the past 50 years, uplifting the total well-being of the audience through the production and broadcast of family values-oriented programs, radio, through DCEC Radio, Radyo Aguila, Pinas FM, Net 25 Television, and one of the most followed news portal today, Eagle News Philippines. A very happy 50th anniversary to Eagle Broadcasting Corporation. More power and God bless you all.
Welcome back. Host nation Russia thrashed Saudi Arabia 5-0 in the opening match of the World Cup to start their tournament in style in Moscow's Luzhniki Stadium on Thursday. Yuri Gazinsky opened the scoring with a header after 12 minutes. Denis Chertshev added a second before Artem Dzyuba got the third in the 71st minute. Cheryshev added a fourth with a superb finish before Golovin curled in a superb free kick in injury time as President Vladimir Putin watched on in delight.
It is a fantastic atmosphere. We really love the people, the world crowd. Everybody is cheering respectfully. It's been absolutely fabulous, except for the score today. It wasn't really good, but it was expected. I think most of the fans didn't have much hope for this team. It's a spoiled and a very disappointing team, in my opinion.
This match, I see it like a friendly match, lovely match. We are happy if Saudi or Russia, all of them the same. Really, I wish all the best for Russia in this World Cup.
Россия, Саудовская Аравия 5-0! 5-0!
One of the U.S. top festivals is happening in California, as our EBC correspondents Justin Libid and Arian Andrade takes us to the California Strawberry Festival.
At the 35th Annual Strawberry Festival in Oxnard, California, they have giant plump strawberries everywhere. At the 35th Annual Strawberry Festival in Oxnard, California, they have giant plump strawberries everywhere. But are they sweet?
The wait time to get into this festival can be long as the popularity of this yearly event grows.
What are you doing here today?
A strawberry festival.
How do you feel?
Having fun.
What are you enjoying today?
I'm enjoying eating the big fat strawberries.
Is this your first time at the Strawberry Festival?
Yes, it is.
So what do you like so far?
I like everything that there is here.
Food you would never imagine made with strawberries are here for the eating. Our grown-up correspondents will report on the food, while we junior correspondents focus on the fun. Wait, we can test a few things, right? Okay.
So we got to build our own strawberry shortcake. The festival folks told us to put as much pound cake, strawberry filling, fresh strawberries, and whipped cream as our bowls could take.
Arts and crafts, live performances, wide skates. There's no shortage of attractions for the entire family to experience. Let's check out what fun the festival has to offer. Our first stop, Strawberry Land.
Most beautiful. There are puppet shows, carnival rides, live animal acts, climbing walls, and all sorts of fun in Strawberry Land for kids of all ages.
What activity did you just experience?
We just got off the strawberry teacups.
How was it fun?
Oh, it was lots of fun. Very fast and fun ride.
Describe your experience at the Strawberry Festival.
Oh, we've had lots of fun. We took pictures on the stagecoach, had strawberry popcorn, some strawberries, and lots of fun.
What activity is happening here?
We're about to be rock climbing.
How is it fun for kids?
Because you're exercising, because you're going up and down.
What rides have you experienced?
I have experienced the dragon ride, and I think it's really great.
How much fun are the kids having?
I think they're having a lot of fun because they're smiling and having a good time.
have strawberries on your mind? What better way to display your love for this sweet fruit than wearing strawberries on your head?
Please explain your game.
So as part of the California Strawberry Festival, we have the Very Berry Hat Contest, where people from all over the state can come and decorate hats and be part of a fashion show to see who has the very best hat.
Why did you bring the hat contest to the Strawberry Festival?
Well, the hat contest is an opportunity for people to represent their area here. Since Oxnard is known for its strawberries, it allows people to get very creative and come up with some elaborate and extraordinary hat creations so that they can be involved in the festival.
Babies and toddlers also join in on the fashion by parading their very best outfits.
Please explain your game.
Our game is a tart toss, and so what it is each contestant gets 3 tarts, and they get to go throw the tarts to individuals behind the board, whether it's their friends or their family. So that's the gist of the game.
Why did you bring the tart toss to the Strawberry Festival?
Because it's a lot of fun. Every time we do this, it just brings out a lot of fun between family. A lot of times people get to throw it at their family and friends. The best part is when the parents get to throw it at the kids, pay back for when they didn't do their cleaning of their room or their chores. The other thing is when the kids get to throw it at their parents. It brings a lot of fun. The crowd loves it, and it's just it's a messy amount of fun.
But of course, this experience would not be complete without trying a few activities for ourselves. I was up for it. But Justin, not so much.
I have a good aim, right, Justin? From the Strawberry Festival in Oxnard, California, we bid our viewers happy eating and playing. And don't forget to watch out for even more coverage in this sweet event from our correspondents in the strawberry field.
Reporting for Eagle News, this is Arian and Justin, and we are 1 with 25.
They're so cute. Don't forget to like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter and Tumblr. Also check out our boards on Pinterest and pictures on Instagram. From Washington, D.C. Bureau, I'm Myla Simbulan. And I'm Alma Angeles, and we're 1 with 25.